Hello and welcome to the TeaCosyFolk knitting vlog for April. Now didn't do one for March because I'd got the lurgy. It wasn't really a lurgy, well it was a lurgy. We call it the lurgy, that's what we called it as kids growing up. But I suppose it was a virus. I don't know what was wrong with me, I just felt dreadful and you really didn't want to see me looking that awful. So I didn't do one in March. And then because time just runs away, doesn't it? Because you know you've had a week off because you're feeling ill. And the first week back, you don't feel quite with it still, and you're catching up on everything, you know, that I should have done, that I didn't do because I was ill. And so I just wrote March off and I thought, that's okay. I'll start the vlog again in April. So here I am, woo! And I'm fit and well and no germs, no lurgy. So everything's okay. So, but thank you actually. You know, because some people sent me get well messages and well wishes. Thank you so much. That was so sweet. That was really nice. It really lifted my spirits. Thank you. But so it's April. I keep thinking March now. It's April. And if you are doing the knitting pattern subscription and you'll be knitting the Astronaut Chocolate Orange Cosy and he's sitting on a little moon, and it's like perfect timing, isn't it? With Artemis 2 just going to the moon and coming back again. And shame they didn't land on the moon and sit like this, isn't it? But yeah, so he's the chocolate orange cosy. He fits on a chocolate orange. And he's quite cute, isn't he? And he's, you know, nice and spacey. And I was channeling 1960s vibes when I knitted this. Because, you know, that was the last time we went to the moon. So there he is, and the pattern is on the website. If you joined the subscription, you would have got your pattern on the 1st of April, but then it was released last week. So if you want to knit one, he is on the website and you can go and download the pattern. But it's just really unusual, great one for boys, and well, great one for anybody who loves space. Also this week, it's the new Simply Knitting magazine, woo! And you get a little free book for making socks, and you get a little freebie. They're double pointed needles in size 2.5, and the magazine. Now I'm not actually in this magazine with a design this month, but I wanted to show you the you know, they always have in the next edition page, it's always at the back, I can't find it. Oh, here it is. I wanted to show you, I'm in the next edition with a World Cup tea cozy, and it's got a goal and a couple of players, and England is scoring a goal. Yay! That's what we want to see, lots of England goals. Anyway, I'll zoom in so you can have a closer look. But yeah, so that's next month, and that is out on the 12th of May. So if you want to knit a football tea cozy, and it's like the goal and everything, and the two little players, and England scoring a goal, woohoo! You can get yours then. If you're on the newsletter, I will let you know on the newsletter when that issue of Simply Knitting comes out, and then you'll be able to, you know, go and get it because you'll have had the newsletter to say, woo, it's in. So if you want to be one of the first to know, join the newsletter. I'll put the link down below, so, you know, you just drop down and you can join the newsletter. Did I mention that this was going to be a Terry's Chocolate Orange Cosy vlog this month? I've got a few to show you, but here's another one. And he was in the TeaCosyFolk knitting pattern calendar for 2025. And he's the Acorn, and he was an autumn theme chocolate orange cozy. And he's really cute because he's got little oak leaves on his head. And this is the cup, because usually they're that way up, aren't they, acorns? And, you know, when they're growing on the tree. And this is the cup that holds them. But he's the other way up, so it becomes his little hat, and then he's just got his little leaves for a bit of a decoration, and he's got a cute little face, and he's a cute little acorn, and he is on the website now. So if you wanted to knit a little acorn, I know it's not autumn yet, but it will be soon. It won't be long, will it? Time flies. But he is the Acorn Chocolate Orange Cosy, sticking with autumn and chocolate orange cozies. I've got the Halloween pumpkin and witch's hat chocolate orange cozy, and this is going on the website on the 30th of April, and this was in the magazine as well, the 2025 Knitting Pattern Calendar magazine. If you still wanted a calendar, you know, all the 12 knitting patterns are in it, and they're still available. But if you just want the little witch's hat, it's really cute, isn't it? And this one, instead of it slotting on, you put it in. I've got one of those rice bag alternatives in this one. You know, I've got a pattern on the freebies page, and it shows you how to make a little rice bag model, because when you've got a chocolate orange in the house, everybody wants a bit. And when you're trying to use it to model something, it's not great if people have taken segments here and there. It's not quite the same. So I'll put the link down below, and if you want to make a little rice bag version, you'll be able to. And it's completely free, so you can just download the pattern and sew it up. It's a sewing pattern. But yeah, so this is the witch's hat. I love it. It's so cute, isn't it? I'd love a witch's hat like that curled over. And I love the black and purple together. It looks really spooky. And the pumpkin itself is made a bit like one of those old-fashioned tea cozies, you know, where you pull it at the back and it draws up and it makes this scrunchie. But it's perfect for pumpkins, because pumpkins, you know, do have that kind of shape. But anyway, so if you want to knit a witch's hat for Halloween, the knitting pattern will be on the website on the 30th of April. And you know, that'll give you loads of time to knit quite a few before Halloween. Yeah, you could have, I don't know, shop full. At the moment, I'm working on an axolotl tea cozy. Here's the design sketch. And it's a little, look, it's an amphibian, and they are pink, and they have these funny little gills at the side that are all like little furry things. So I didn't know how to do the little furry things, because I like to use Starcraft Special DK, and they don't do a fluffy one. But what I've done is I've knitted loopy stitch, and then where the loops are, I've cut the loops and then unravelled the fibres. And when you unravel the fibres, they go all fluffy like that. It looks perfect. So, and I've tried two different kind of eyes. This is a knitted eye, and this is a false eye. You know, the little safety eyes. I think I prefer the safety eyes better, actually. And he's got his little legs and his little toes. Apparently they have 5 toes at the back and 4 toes at the front. So he's got his little toes and his tail, and they have like this, it's almost translucent, this bit on the tail. Of course, you can't do translucent in knitting, but you know, I'm kind of trying to emulate it there. But he's a mini sized teapot. It's a Price and Kensington teapot, but it's the, you know, the size that fits a small teapot for one. So you perhaps only get 2 cups of tea in that. And he's the axolotl tea cozy, and this is how far I've got with him. So most of the design work's done, and I've got to start sewing him up. He might need a couple more legs for the other side, but yeah, he's coming on. So that's the axolotl tea cozy that I'm working on at the moment. Also in March, I was working on a new tea cozy design, which was a bespoke tea cozy. A lady had asked me to design a tea cozy for a friend. She owned a yarn shop and she was closing the yarn shop. She'd sold it, that was it, she'd sold it, and she was handing it over to somebody else. And she wanted a little commemorative tea cozy, you know, to say, I don't know, bon voyage, or, you know, on to pastis new. Here's to remember your time working in the shop with the yarn. And anyway, she wanted a tea cosy that looked like her friend, and knitting. She wanted a knitting, and she wanted yarn everywhere. So I sketched up a little tea cosy, and I made this bespoke tea cosy, and I've got a video to show you. So here is the tea cosy, and you can see she's there and she's knitting. She's got real knitting on real knitting needles. What I did was I got bamboo knitting needles and I cut them down to size, and then I found with the bamboo needles you can use a pencil sharpener and put the tips back on. So once you've cut them to length, keep the, you know, the bobble on the end, and then cut them to length and put them through a pencil sharpener, and you get the point back, which is brilliant. And so she's knitting, and she's got a table next to her, and there's yarn everywhere. And to be honest, you know, most of us knitters sit there with piles and piles of yarn. I know I do. I have a sofa to sit on, and next to me on the chair, no one can sit next to me. That's where my yarn sits. And it's just everywhere. And sometimes, you know, I might have a couple of projects on the go, and I'll perhaps have a basket of yarn on the floor at my feet as well. So it's just everywhere. And I think most of us can identify with this one, you know, with just yarn everywhere. So, and there's the working ball of yarn as well that she's working from. And, you know, there's balls of wool behind her as well. And I've done the banded type yarn as well as hand wound balls, you know, because I think when you think of balls of wool, you do naturally think, you know, the spherical ones, but actually most of them nowadays, I suppose, especially for tea cosy making with acrylic yarn and Stylecraft Special DK, it's banded yarn, isn't it? And they oblong shape balls of wool. So yeah, so I've kind of covered all bases, and I thought, you know, just for interest, that she'd be knitting stripes, and that would give her a reason to have so many balls of wool everywhere, because she's just going to go through all these balls and knit a couple of stripes, a couple of rows, you know, so it's all lovely and stripy and colourful and bright. So that's, I've called her the Knit and Natter Tea Cosy, and she's going on the website on the 16th of April. But if you're on the newsletter, you'll know on the day. A newsletter will go out to say she's there. So if you want to knit a Knit and Natter Tea Cosy, flipping heck, that's a bit of a tongue twister, but if you want to knit one, she'll be on the website then. So you'll be able to pop along and download your copy. Another tea cosy I've been working on, I'm not going to show you, but I've been working on a sloth tea cosy. And the reason why I'm telling you is because his claws are made with I-cords. Now, I-cords can be made two ways. I'm going to show you that in a moment. This is going to be my knitting tip. But, you know, when you say to someone double pointed needles, if they've never used double pointed needles, they instantly have a canary. They don't want to use double pointed needles. But I'm going to show you how to knit I-cords with double pointed needles, because it's really easy. But I'll also show you, you know, with conventional knitting needles, because not everybody's got double pointed needles, and they might not want to run out and buy some just for knitting sloth claws. But I'm going to show you how to do it. So this month's knitting tip is how to knit I-cords. Thank you for that fanfare. So I'm going to show you what we're going to use. That's what I'm going to show you, the two sorts of knitting needles. These are the knitting needles. These are ordinary 4mm knitting needles. They're just straight ones with a bobble on the end. And they're nice short ones, actually. They're nice for knitting small things. And these are the 4mm double pointed needles. And you can see both ends has a point, so no bobble on the end. And these ones are 4mm, the same size. I suppose if you're sock making and things, you don't usually have a 4mm double pointed needle, but I bought these specially for my I-cords actually, and I found them on Amazon, and they weren't very expensive. I think they were under £3. I'm going to start the I-cords first with the conventional knitting needles. And this is the colour that is graphite. Stylecraft Special DK Graphite. And that's what colour the claws are in. And you only need 4 stitches. So I just cast on 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Right. And now we begin the I-cord. So the first row is just an ordinary knit row. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you don't turn the work. You slip those stitches back onto this needle and give it a bit of a tug. You pull that because you're wanting the knitting to curl up so the 2 row end edges meet at the back. So give that a bit of a tug. And when you do your first stitch, give it a tug again and make it nice and a tight stitch, that one, to encourage the knitting. And then you knit across again. Right, so that's your second row. And now we have to slip the stitches back onto the first needle. So, hang on, and then give it a tug. And we do the first stitch and we give it a tug. And when the knitting, you know, when you're making I-cords, it looks like, you know, when you were a kid and you did French knitting on a knitting dolly, you know, with pegs at the top, and you wrap the wool round and passed it over. That's row 3. And then we slide the stitches back. Yeah, and you use those knitting dollies. And it comes out like a long snaky thing, you know, like a solid bit of knitting. That's what I-cords look like. All right, so that's row 4. And we slide them back. Now you can see with this, I'm spending quite a bit of my time transferring stitches from one needle to the next. Give it a tug. And that's row 5. I've just got to do one more row. You can see, look, it's joined at the back. So it's like a solid bit of knitting now. And you pass it back. So at no point do you turn the work. You're always working from the front. Make that stitch tight, the first one, and then knit across. So that's row 6, and that's as long as the claws need to be. Just 6 rows. And see, there's no sewing up, and it's, see how it's completely closed at the back? That's where the row end edges have come together and joined. And, oh, I've just got to find a pair of scissors. So we cut the yarn. Thread up a needle. And this is thread and draw. So you thread through. That's all the stitches off the needle. And look, it's made a loop. And you go through the loop and draw up. And that closes the top. I've got a bit of a funny bit there. But anyway, so that completes the claw. And there's no sewing to do, which is brilliant. And it's super neat. I mean, you know, if you were to do that with a seam down it, it wouldn't be that neat. And once it's sewn onto the actual foot or hand, you won't be able to see where the row ends are at all. Well, there aren't row ends now, are there? But that is doing it when you're using straight needles. Now I'm going to show you again with the double pointed needles. So here's the graphite again. Cast on 4 stitches. Now, what people don't like about double pointed needles is, I think, because it doesn't seem natural, but also they're always worried that you're going to lose the stitches off the end. But I mean, you can see 4 stitches on this needle. There's no way you're going to lose them. They're not accidentally going to fall off. Right, so first we knit across these stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, we're not transferring them. We're simply going to slide them up the other end of the needle, and we do the next row. Give it a tug as before, just to get it to come round and join up. So that's row 2. And we slide it up. This is row 3. Make that stitch tight. So that's row 3. And this is row 4. See, it's so much quicker without having to transfer the stitches back. So it does make the knitting quicker because your stitches are almost instantly ready for the next row. There's no faffing about. So it's brilliant in that respect. But, you know, if you don't own a pair of double pointed needles, it would mean you'd, you know, have to buy some. But you can, this is my 6th row. So that's it. So I've knitted the claw so much quicker. I've got the same effect. So that just needs thread and draw, and that'll be another claw finished. So it makes it much quicker, much easier. And, you know, there's no fear that it's going to fall off the edge. And if it does, it's only 4 stitches. So it's a great way, you know, if you are nervous about double pointed needles, it is a great, you know, gateway into using them and getting over the initial shock of, oh my God, there's no bobble at the end, you know. So try it. Try double pointed needles just for I-cords and see how you get on, because it's really easy, super quick, and, you know, it'll increase your skill base. You get used to using a new tool, and that's, you know, great. That's all knitters want to be, you know, increasing their skill set and getting better at, you know, what they enjoy. And it's a nice step forward. You'll feel a sense of achievement. It'll look great, and it's just brilliant. Well, now you've seen how easy I-cords are, either with double pointed needles or with ordinary straight needles. Hopefully we've demystified them and made them look a lot less scary than what they sound, because they are really easy and they're really nice, because it's just such a neat finish, and they're perfect for the sloth and all those claws. Otherwise you'd be sewing seams everywhere, because he's a 3-toed sloth, so that's 3 claws on each hand and 3 claws on each foot. So, you know, that's a lot of claws. And the last thing I've got to show you this month is the Candy Wonderland Tea Cozy. And, you know, if you're a candy lover, this is the perfect tea cozy for you. It's just got everything, all of the old-fashioned favourites. So there's a block of chocolate at the back. I think it must be dairy milk. And then there's little jelly babies. And this is one of those lovely little mushrooms. And there's Smarties everywhere, and Maltesers, and licorice all sorts. Everybody loves a licorice all sort. And there's lovely big lollipops. They look like trees, don't they? they're really nice. They're stiffened with, you know, the bamboo skewers that you use in the kitchen. So they're nice and stiff with those, and there's a big swirl and a little river of chocolate running all the way around. And the main cosy, you know, to give it this landscape texture, is knitted in bubble stitch. And I made a help video of how to knit the bubble stitch, and I'll put the link down below to that. But to make the bubble stitch, you do a series of stocking stitch rows, and then you go along, and every, I don't know, I think it's every 5th stitch or so, I can't remember exactly, but then you drop the stitches, which when you read it and it says drop a stitch, people are thinking, oh my God, because, you know, we're taught don't drop stitches. But for this to work, you have to drop the stitch and you have to go 6 rows down. So you unwind it 6 rows and pick that stitch back up. And it makes this puckered effect, which makes these lovely little billowy, they're like little hillocks. And they're brilliant for this because it makes a lovely landscaped effect. Because, you know, they're hollow, so they're just like little hollows in the tea cozy. And where there's a little hollow, it fills with air that, you know, and it's warm air because it's come from the teapot. And that helps to insulate the teapot. Bit of science there. But yeah, so this is the Candy Wonderland tea cozy. And I don't know though, there's just loads going on, isn't there? It's so busy. I'll take you for another tour around the little Wonderland. But there's lots of sweets. There's 2 jelly baby characters. I mean, if you wanted to do more sweets and more, I don't know, of a particular thing, maybe you wanted more jelly babies, you could have one to represent everybody in the family, couldn't you? And just put them on. But it's just brilliant, and it's great for stash busting because, you know, there's lots of different colours, and sweets can be any colour, can't they? So that is, oh, that's the front again. You can tell because the chocolate's got the cubey bits. Can you see? And it's flat on the other side. Look, it's a flat bar of chocolate on the other side. So I suppose that's naturally the front of the tea cozy. But it's just a riot of colour, you know, and if you love sweeties and you've got a sweet tooth, it's perfect. Brilliant tea cozy. I do like it. And it's a bit offbeat, isn't it? I quite like offbeat. But this tea cozy will be on the website on the 23rd of April. So that's when you'll see it and be able to download the knitting pattern and you can knit your own. And that's all I've got to show you for this month. And I'll definitely be back next month. No more lurgies. And I'll be back next month. And I'll have more to show you. And I'll have finished the axolotl. I'll have started a new tea cozy. I've had another lady approach me asking me to make a bespoke tea cozy for her. So I'll tell you more about that next month. And I'm currently designing some tea cozies for Simply Knitting. So fingers crossed we'll get some more designs in Simply Knitting. I love it when you see your tea cozy in Simply Knitting. And it's like, wow, there it is. It's lovely to see it in print. And actually, if you want to have that same feeling, they have a page in the Simply Knitting magazine where they show readers' makes. So you could, you know, make a tea cozy or anything. You could make something, knit something and send them a photo, and you write a bit of a story, you know, about your inspiration and why you've made it. You know, I don't know, you might say, oh, I made it for my grandma, or I made it for my daughter because she wanted one, and, you know, and you send it to them. You can email it to them. I'll put the details down below of how to enter yours. And then they pick a few to put in the magazine, and they contact you and say, oh, we want to use it. So, you know, you'll know which issue it's going in, and then you'll have that same feeling of, oh, you know, because it's really amazing to, you know, get something in print, isn't it? It's just a really lovely experience. So if you want to feel that too, I'll put the details down below. You go and do it as well. Maybe that's your mission for May. Enter something to the Simply Knitting magazine for May and see if you can get in the magazine as well. We'll just get loads of people in the magazine. We'll get rid of the patterns. We'll just have everybody who watches the TeaCosyFolk knitting vlog. We'll have all them in the knitting pattern instead. But anyway, so that's all I've got to show you, and I'll be back in May. And I hope you have a lovely time knitting, and I hope you spend lots of time knitting and chilling out and enjoying balls of wool stacked high all around you. And I'll see you soon. So you take care. Goodbye.